All right, folks. Hello, and welcome back to online English class. I hope you guys are doing well today. Today, we're going to continue the drafting process for our quarter four essay, looking at the focus points, both for the AP and honors class. Obviously, those focus points are a little bit different. They're worded differently, but ultimately point to the same general concepts about good writing. And we're going to consider how those focus points iterate themselves in our sample essay. Okay. Before we do that, let's go ahead and run through the top of the week announcements quickly. All right, so you need to remember your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis. You need to be engaging in the drafting process for the quarter four essay again on a daily basis. Make sure that you're not just listening to these passively, but rather either while you're listening to the video or after you're done listening to the video, that you're actively doing the things that I am pointing out to you have been done in the sample essay. Okay, the sample essay is not your essay, so just watching the sample essay be good doesn't do anything for you except for offer you a kind of model that can only be followed if you go and do something. All right, so you've got to take responsibility for the information that is offered to you and go and do it, all right, in the drafting process. Okay, so just make sure that you are doing that on a daily basis. Okay, beyond that, if you're in the AP course, make sure that you have engaged with the 2020 AP testing guide, that you've worked through the checklist, and that you have worked through the testing demo by May 6th. That was yesterday. All right. So contextualizing all this is your continued work on the quarter four essay. You can submit that anytime from May 18th to May 22nd. It's a big task, so you're going to want to use the rest of this month. All right, the next basically 12 days, the next basically 2.5 weeks, in order to get ready to submit this essay. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and turn our attention back to the focus points of this essay. All right, so yesterday we discussed the importance of adapting to the rhetorical situation. Okay, that's what the College Board calls it. All right, the Florida State Standards uses the terminology of engaging in the writing process or the drafting or editing process. And essentially, both of those things require you to generate ideas about a prompt to understand the rhetorical situation that you are being placed in. Okay, that requires, as we discussed yesterday, two actionable things that you need to do. First and foremost, in an academic context, all right, in an academic rhetorical situation, if you have indeed generated ideas about that prompt, understand what you're being asked to do and who's asking you to do it. If you have adapted to that rhetorical situation, as said that you ought to do in this focus point right here, then you should, right, write an essay that conforms to the structures, the form of an academic paper. Okay, you need to, like I said yesterday, follow the standards of MLA formatting. Please do not get on citationmachine.com for your citations. Get on Purdue OWL like an actual research student and figure out how to accurately and correctly produce your citations. Make sure that those sources are directly cited in the text of your essay and correctly cited in the text of your essay. That you are paraphrasing, summarizing, directly quoting from your sources, that you are balancing and integrating those quotations into the text of your writing as you know to do. The second actionable thing that adapting to the rhetorical situation requires of you, okay, is basically, listen carefully, understanding that this is a synthetic argument. A synthetic argument is not a report. It's not a research report. Okay, that is a valid form of research writing. Okay, sometimes you just need information. Okay, you just need information given to you, and that information might require research. That's not this kind of essay, though. This is an argument in which you are selecting a contentious topic. You have to carve out the area of our cultural discourse, the area of American society that you are going to develop an opinion about. And there are many. There are a million different things that you can write about and think about and develop a coherent, reasonable opinion about. All right, but you need to determine what that is and develop an argument using your research as evidence to support your argument. Does that make sense? It's a little bit different than simply researching something that you're interested in, and then just reporting what you found. Okay, so you got to adapt to the rhetorical situation. The second thing we looked at, all right, is the central claim. All right, so we discussed this at length yesterday. I'm not going to go back to it, but essentially, all right, the Florida State standards or the AP standards basically require you to write a thesis statement that requires proof or defense. It needs to be contentious, in other words, and it very well may, as many good thesis statements do, preview the structure of the argument. Well, when we looked at our sample essay yesterday, we saw that the central claim of this student's essay does indeed preview the structure of the argument. Okay. It lays out some basic facts. Disney princesses are extremely influential in shaping the respective identities of young women. That is a statement that needs some evidence. It needs some analysis. It needs to be described, because on first look, most people would say Disney princesses are not that big of a deal. Okay, and the student is not just saying that they're a big deal in terms of the economic impact that they have, right, in bringing money into the Disney Corporation, and they're not just saying that they're influential in the lives of young girls because they enjoy playing with them and singing the songs, and everybody's singing Frozen 2 right now. No, the student is saying that they're influential in shaping the identity, all right, the ethical and moral compasses of young women. All right, well, that statement requires a little bit of expounding on, okay, because on the surface of things, we typically don't take Disney princesses very seriously, okay? So this first assertion needs proof, all right? And then the second assertion, all right, also needs proof, as we discussed yesterday. This is an evaluation that Disney is exerting this influence in harmful ways, whether consciously or unconsciously. I'm not sure if the student doesn't necessarily argue that Disney is doing this on purpose because they want to destroy the young women of America and make money while they're doing it, right? It's not like some sort of evil corporation, but the student is simply arguing that what Disney is offering to young women is not good for them. Okay, it doesn't unpack their motives because that probably can't be unpacked necessarily. All right. But these naive and vulnerable consumers, these young girls, are being influenced in harmful ways. And then, therefore, it follows, all right, it is logical for those responsible for raising young girls to consciously seek out alternative fictional feminine models for their young girls to engage. Okay. So this call to action follows logically, all right, this assertion and this evaluation. But the essay doesn't stop there. Okay, it continues to qualify or to describe what exactly or why exactly they should seek out alternative fictional feminine models. Why not just tell them the stories of Corrie ten Boom and say, you know what, if you want to learn how to be a good woman, just look at your mom, right? Your mom will teach you how. Well, that's true, and that's probably one of the most basic forms of education, both of young boys looking at father figures or male role models, and young girls looking at female figures, right? But the student argues that it's also imperative for these models to be able to engage with or accessible to the child's imagination. That's one of the things that makes these Disney princesses so powerful, right? Is that they live in the realm of fantasy and adventure and romance, and the child, right, is sort of whisked away into these like animated fantasy worlds, and that is, and they engage with this person in the context of play, in the context of song, in the context of toy, right? Even and those help develop the power of those models, simply because they are presented to the child in ways that the child are entertained by. Okay, so the student here is saying that we don't need some kind of austere alternative, all right, that's boring. Okay, we don't need a Victorian novel. All right, what we need is something that is accessible, something that offers an alternative narrative of femininity. Okay, so Today, what I want to talk about very quickly is line of reasoning. Okay, so for the AP class, this comes in your third focus point, which is the Rio course goal. Okay, the big idea, reasoning and organization for the AP class, and it discusses the fact that your essay needs to have to organize a series of evidences and commentaries that illuminate the basic line of reasoning in your argument. In other words, the line of reasoning are the series of assertions that build to your central claim. Okay, you should know you should know what that means. All right. More specifically, you need to develop that line of reasoning using commentary. You need to use transitional elements to guide the reader from point to point to point to point. And finally, you need to vaguely, they kind of say, a kind of catch-all phrase here: use appropriate methods of development to advance an argument. Okay. That might mean using the classical oration model if you want to use narration, confirmation, counter argument, conclusion structure. It might mean using a comparison and contrast to juxtapose two contrary ideas. It's just appropriate methods of development. Okay. On the honors and regular side, it's your focus point simply says effectively organize the essay. And one of the sort of qualifying statements there is with appropriate varied transitions that create cohesive logical relationships between the ideas developed in the essay. All right. So, how does the student do this? Well, first of all, it all starts with the quality of the central claim. Okay, because the central claim is so clear, because the central claim establishes a series of assertions that all need to be defended in order to lead to a reasonable call to action, and then a sort of conscientious qualification of what that action, why that action should be the way it is. The structure of the essay is already pretty much self-evident, and so should yours be. Right? So should yours be. All right, this is a wonderful closed thesis statement because it prepares the reader, me, for precisely what is coming. All right, in the narration paragraph, in the first narration paragraph, the student begins by zooming out a little bit, by broadening the scope and talking about the history of feminism in American culture generally. This is not a long, like 5-page summary. It's a brief one paragraph conversation about the history of feminism in American culture. It leaves us in the modern era. Then the student talks, again, not a 5-page summary, but a brief one paragraph commentary on those modern conceptions of femininity, and then narrows the focus, notice, back from sort of broad cultural expressions of modern feminism and femininity, okay, to Disney. All right, and saying Disney also plays a role in this, right? Which is, again, self-evident, right? If you knew anything about Disney as a corporation, they are certainly not apolitical. They have views. They are trying to teach ethics. They're trying to teach democratic values. They try to empower young women. These are all parts of their goals as a corporation, okay? The next paragraph gets into confirming the essay's thesis itself, okay? And the first aspect that they need to confirm is the extent to which Disney is influential in shaping the identities of young women. So what does the student do? Well, she writes a paragraph citing sources about the exposure that young people have to media, all right, and media outlets, of which Disney is a titanic entity, right? This huge media outlet that has broad range of power and influence, according to producing content that is consumed by young children in their 7.5 hours of media consumption on a daily basis. Okay, so the student here is basically undercutting the argument that movies are just movies or media is just media. It's just an animated movie. It's no big deal. Okay. After undercutting that assertion, after showing that it is indeed a big deal, all right. And I would say the student probably could do a better job. Again, this is a student, right? So there's still problems with the essay. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty solid example. The student could have done a better job explaining the role that movies play in developing the ethical and moral compasses of young people, but that much is left basically implicit. She essentially establishes the extent to which, or the level to which students are exposed to media on a daily basis, and then gets into an analysis of how Disney has been misusing or misunderstanding their role in shaping young girls' understanding of themselves. Okay, first character that she evaluates is Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. What does she essentially conclude in this paragraph? After a great deal of analysis, right, in which she introduces a kind of basic character analysis of Aurora, introduces some of the background, discusses the plot and what she does, connects it to some statements made in The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Okay, essentially, what does she come to? Well, ready? That Aurora lacks the ethic of deliberate choice, that she is acted upon, but not the primary actor. She literally lays asleep for the majority of the plot of the movie, okay, waiting to be awakened by her, prince. Again, who seems to be her the sort of life spring, her source of life. This ethic reasons the student is not good. It cultivates an attitude of apathy. It cultivates an attitude of that a young woman's role is simply to wait. To be swept off her feet by some Prince Charming, not to make deliberate ethical choices for herself. This is not a good attitude for men or women to be a sort of passive and apathetic. You are a moral agent, and it is good for young people, especially young women, to understand that they too are moral agents, all right, and are called upon to act deliberately. All right. The next character that is analyzed is Elsa. Okay, so we've got a kind of old Disney princess, an old but very famous one, and then we've got a newer, the most famous of all time, Elsa, right? Box office buster, Elsa herself, right, from Frozen. Who young girls love and is still incredibly culturally relevant, right? Uh, Essentially, the student bashes Elsa as well, right? Not because the music's bad, right? Who doesn't love the music from Frozen? Okay, you just got to. But essentially, right, Elsa and the entire Frozen narrative seems to suggest, right, that being who you are is your right. That changing yourself for the benefit of others, for the benefit of your community, is something that you never should have to do. That you simply just need to let it go, be yourself, and be completely free, and other people will just have to deal with you. All right, this. While it makes more sense in the logic of the plot of Frozen, essentially is cultivating this kind of ethic in children that to train them that they're perfect just the way they are, and that's just not true. Nobody is perfect the way they are. Everyone needs to make sacrifices for the benefit of other individuals. Everybody needs to confront the ways in which they act selfishly and to form their behavior in better ways. All right, so both of these Disney princesses, the student reasons, are, as promised in the original central claim, that these are harmful models of what it means to be a woman, and they are being consumed, right, hook, line, and sinker by naive and vulnerable consumers. Okay, the next aspects, the next areas of the argument begin the process of describing, okay, what those who are responsible for raising young girls should do. Okay, should we go burn down Disney World and make sure we kill Mickey Mouse? No. Okay, that's obviously an unreasonable action. But should we offer some alternative fictional models for young girls to engage with and to emulate? Yeah, we probably should. The student comes to that conclusion, but then qualifies that conclusion in her following paragraphs by explaining why it is so important that those alternative models be accessible to the child's imagination and engaged with in the context of play. Okay, so not only should the fictional model be deliberately making choices that align with their values in the narrative, and serving one's community at the expense of their own comfort in a way that is honorable, but they should be doing so in the context of a narrative that is engaging to the child's imagination and can be sort of engaged with in the context of pleasure and play and fantasy. Okay, so all of this is established in our line of reasoning. We don't have those paragraphs. I've just cut them off and summarized them for you. And it leads to our conclusion, which simply reaffirms this thesis, summarizes the line of reasoning used to illustrate its validity. Okay? So, has this student developed a logical organizational pattern that builds to and reflects the assertion made in the central claim? The answer to that question is yes. They have done so very well by the standards of a kind of introductory college level writing class, the AP, or a junior level high school writing. Okay, so this has been an excellent line of reasoning and certainly deserved the A that it received. Okay, so that's all I want to talk about today. I just wanted to unpack that line of reasoning. It's really important for your essay as a whole, but I just want you to see what the connection between two things really quick. Okay, a good line of reasoning is only as good as the central claim that structures it. All right. So if you start with a reasonable central claim that establishes some assertions that need to be proven in order for you to arrive at a reasonable action or a reasonable conclusion or a reasonable evaluation, okay, then the structure of your essay just basically writes itself. Okay. Now, you can use the classical oration model. You can use a concession and refutation kind of paragraph or a counter argument if you want to in your essay. You have a lot of freedom about how to structure this, but you are not free to structure it illogically. Okay, you must ensure that your statement is A, contentious, and B, capable of being proven through a line of reasoning. That line of reasoning then therefore needs to prove each aspect of the assertion. Okay? So that's all I got for you today. I'd love for you to think about that and apply that to your own writing today. Another thing that we looked at sort of along the way here is the structure of the paragraphs. Okay, so I'm not going to go through and talk about each specific paragraph, but you will see that each paragraph has a kind of claim, and that claim is governed by the central claim, or it connects back to the central claim, and then it analyzes evidence that supports that claim, explaining that evidence with commentary as it relates to the larger ideas at stake in the essay. Okay, so not only is this an effective line of reasoning, it is any effective line of reasoning is made up of coherent, cogent paragraphs. Okay, so that hits some focus points about the development of the essay's thesis in the body paragraphs for the honors and regular course and also in the AP course. Okay, so that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope that you find this information helpful in the process of constructing your own essay, and that you are working hard on making sure that your essay is coherent, logical, and well written. Have a great day.